Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Call of Cthulhu 7th edition, and today we are going to talk about spells. We've talked about how to get spells, either open up your brain to a thing outside the universe or read a book. Books can be fun, except when you're learning mythos spells. The ability to alter time, space, and reality has a detrimental effect on the very fragile human psyche. Let's see what happens next.
Role-playing games thrive in fantastic worlds and at inclusive tables that embrace these core values for the most positive gaming experience. Donate to the Wounded Warrior Project via the link in the description below to help, honor, and empower our wounded heroes. On Thursdays and Saturdays, watch Heathen Dog's Dirty Casuals play multiplayer video games over on Twitch. On Sundays and Fridays, join us for tabletop role-playing game content on both YouTube and Rumble. Finally, please take a quick moment to like this video and share it with both your friends and on social media. If you have not done so, please subscribe to Legion of Myth and activate that bell icon to receive notifications of new content. Okay. You want that?
There we go. Now we have in front of us here a picture of your enemy on spells. Yes, you can do amazing things with magic. Magic can also do amazing things to you. And we're going to find both of those things out right now. Spells. The spells described within the grimoire are listed alphabetically, each detailing the standard purpose and result of a successful casting. We're not going to go over all of them. We're going to go over some of them. Keepers are encouraged to further develop, alter, and enhance the spells listed here. A spell may be found in a tome that produces a weaker effect than is stated in a grimoire. Equally, a more powerful version may be encountered. So you as the keeper have free reign to lessen or greater the effects, sanity loss, whatever, of all these spells, because each version, whether it be original Arabic or Greek or Latin or English or Gaelic or whatever, is going to be slightly different because lots of things are lost in translation. The keeper should take careful note of which investigators know magic. An investigator might cast a spell involuntarily while under the keeper's control during a bout of madness. This is true as well. Remember, loss of sanity, whether it be temporary insanity or indefinite insanity, there are times when you lose your player agency.
What?
Be prepared for that. It happens. And you could cast a spell off and lose more sanity because of it, because the keeper says so. What is your recourse? None. Suck it up. You went insane. That happened. Shut up. Spell names. While each spell has a standard name, keepers are strongly advised to use more evocative titles whenever possible. Different mythos tomes may contain common spells. However, such authors will have comprehended the spells quite differently, one author naming the spell Contact Deep One as the voice from the deeps, for example, and another calling it Summon the Abyssal Foulness. Different spells may even have the same or similar names. Suggestions for alternative names are provided at the end of each spell's
How about
description.
happiness and butterflies?
Yeah, that was a real mistranslation. Deeper magic. The path to mythos, wisdom, and knowledge leads to insanity. This is the end result. Okay? The more you learn about mythos, you go down that path, you are going to go insane. There's no way around it. It's going to happen, and faster than your compatriots that shy away from such things. Be ready for that. The price of power is burning yourself at both ends. Sure, you burn so bright, but only for about 10 minutes. Sanity gauges a person's hold on what we term reality, which is not reality at all, but only in a consensual human delusion or limited understanding that protects the mind from which it cannot fully comprehend. The mythos. Remember, mythos is not magic. They're called spells because we call them that. Books are called spelled books because we call them that. It's not real. It's actual reality. You are using the laws of reality, natural law, to reshape life.
Using old ones' laws. Come on now.
No. True universal laws that we can't comprehend, so we can't use readily without our brains breaking. That's what this is. Occultist's ultimate aim is to relinquish all trace of human sanity and replace it with an understanding of the true nature of the universe. This is something a lot of people don't understand. When you go fully insane, you don't die, you become an NPC. You could still be functional. You could still say 2 + 2 is 4. You know to cross the street on a walking sign instead of a don't walk sign. But all human identity, all uh, cultural human nuance that you once had in your body is gone. Absolutely gone. You no longer care about your fellow man. You don't even think you are a fellow man anymore.
Of course not, because they can't do magic.
Exactly. You've risen above fully. You are a superior being to other humans. Therefore, why care about them? There's no reason to. That's what happens when you reach 0 sanity. Or one of the many things that could happen, depending on how the keeper does it. The loss of sanity would incapacitate most people, leaving them unable to function in any meaningful way. However, some cultists achieve this paradigm shift without being reduced to gibbering wrecks. Even though they have 0 sanity points, they somehow transcend insanity and are still able to function and, in some cases, are capable of blending unnoticed in society at large. I mean, sure, you may now be a serial killer who only kills newborn babies.
Yeah, but as long as I'm not doing it on TV where people are watching, it should be okay.
Exactly. It's fine. You can still play bingo with your grandma. It's fine. It's fine. Insane wizards who fully embrace the mythos are likely to draw upon far greater power than a person who's simply casting a spell learned from a book. Liberated from human sanity and empowered by their understanding of the mythos, these wizards are able to discover new aspects and deeper magics. Think of it.
I like that. Liberated.
You
Liberated.
are
from
liberated.
sanity.
The shackles have been removed from you. The humanity shackles have been removed. What is the main detriment to learning and casting mythos magical spells? Loss of sanity. Well, if you have nothing to lose, literally, there is no downside anymore. There isn't. An NPC wizard with 0 sanity is basically a living demigod.
I'm in.
He has no
Let's
strings
do
on him
this.
anymore. Let's see here. Investigators may also learn these deeper levels of understanding. Whether an investigator is insane, temporary or indefinite, and successfully casts a spell, roll 1d100 and compare the result to their mythos skill. If the roll is equal to or below the investigator's mythos skill, new depths of magic have been successfully plumbed, and the option to use the deeper effect of the spell now presents itself. Once the deeper version of a spell is discovered, it remains available thereafter. Whether there are further deeper levels of spell to be discovered, we don't know. It's up to the keeper to decide. All spells have these hidden depths. Deeper versions of many spells in this grimoire are provided as examples. Keepers are advised to plan ahead when introducing spells that might fall into the hands of investigators and predetermine possible deeper magical effects of such spells rather than try to invent them on the fly. Oh my God, that one's new. That was new for 7th edition, I think. Well, it could have been in 6th as well. I don't know. But if you cast while insane, your mind is so open that some more of it not falls out, but some things fall in. More powerful
So you
versions
found
of the
elastic brain. When you have
No.
0 sanity, you have elastic brain.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, the way to get elastic brain is to get 0 sanity.
I'm in.
If you now have access to level 2 or higher of the spell, which obviously is going to have better or more detrimental, depending on your, are you on the receiving end of it or not, power. Deeper magic in play. All mythos entities and cultists with 0 sanity points will, if they know a certain spell, know the deeper versions as listed in the grimoire. Other enemies may know them at the keeper's discretion. The keeper should not feel obliged to roll to determine whether the enemy learns a deeper version during play. You can just make them do it. Doesn't matter. You're the keeper. You can do that. When an investigator discovers a deeper effect of a spell through play, the keeper may decide how it differs from the standard version. The section on spell variations may prove useful. Essentially, the deeper version should be an exciting and more horrific development of the spell rather than a mundane mechanical benefit, such as costing fewer magic points or doing more damage or lasting longer. No, it should be horrible. It should be absolutely horrible. Do that instead. You may ask the player how the spell might be altered. Remember, however, that this is a horror game, and the deeper version may add aspects to the spell that are undesirable to the investigator. Greater magic should come with a greater price. So, for example, the player character is temporarily insane and casts a spell. Rolls under their current mythos skill for a D100, so has learned a deeper version of the spell. What I would do reading this, I would say, hey, what benefit do you want the spell to have now? The player will say the benefit. And I, as the keeper, will say, oh, it also has this extra detriment. It's going to be horrible. You're not going to like it. You better have chosen well, because this shit's going to have nuts in it. Spell variations. There is no such thing as a definitive spell. The ones listed here are only a guide and starting point for the keeper to draw upon. This is not a game in which the players can expect their characters to gain spells as a matter of course. The players should be aware that any spells their investigators gain may vary from the ones listed in the book. Part of the keeper's job is to act as intermediary between this grimoire and the players. Okay, now we have opposed power rolls, spell range. These are the mechanics of casting a spell, so it's important to know. So we're going to read it. Many spells call for a power roll to be made to test whether the spell affects its target. Both sides make a power roll and compare their levels of success, with the higher one being the victor. In the case of a tie, the higher power wins. This is why insane cultists are so dangerous. Just in the last video or two, we talked about that it is possible through using magic or through using your power to increase it by a D10. That means the cultist, who uses magic a whole lot, is probably going to have a greater power rating than the average investigator. So
I think it'd be interesting that if magic goes against magic, that the corrupting forces
win.
Multiply,
Yeah.
and so both sides get effed.
That could be possible, yes. But in just with the straight up die rolls, the person with the highest power has a greater chance of winning. So that's usually going to be the bad guy. In the case of a tie, the power roll wins. If the sides are still drawn, as in they both have the same power, the keeper might decide that both are affected adversely in some manner that reflects the nature of the spell. There you go. That's what you were saying. Sometimes when a tie, oh, and now you both get screwed. If the difference between the caster's power and the target's power is 100 or more, the one with the greater power automatically wins, not even a roll. Now, having 100 power or more, not easy. You're not going to get it right off the bat. You're going to get it through mythos nonsense. But creatures, intelligent mythos creatures, may start out with 1-200 power. So when they cast a spell on you, you're just going to eat it. It's a giant turd sandwich, and you just better hope he puts some mayo on it because you're eating it.
You.
Spell range. In the game, spell range is usually one of three options: touch, 100 yards, or sight with the unaided eye. These general choices are easy to visualize and understand. Greater ranges can come from engineering problems, not examples of horror. Like greater ranges, if it is a ritual spell and you have DNA of the victim, the spell may have, anywhere on the planet, right? That's possible. But for a general rule of thumb, touch, 100 yards, or line of sight. Unaided sight, which means no binoculars, no cameras, nothing like that. Casting time and spells in combat. Some spells are useful in combat situations. Each spell has a casting time listed in its description: instantaneous, 1 round, and so on. So it could be more, could be less. If the casting time is instantaneous, it activates on the user's dex plus 50, just like a readied weapon. This is something that you think and it happens. It's the same amount of time as thinking of pulling a trigger and boom, gun goes off. So an attack spell that has instantaneous is a great boon to you in combat. It's not so much because you're going to use it a lot and it's going to drive you insane. Bear that in mind.
Do you suffer the sanity loss every single time you use it?
Yep. Well, it used to be. We're going to read on, but yeah. If the casting takes 1 round, it activates on the user's dex in the present round. So it doesn't take 1 full round. It's normal action at that point. If the casting takes 2 rounds, it activates on the user's dex in the following round, and so on. 3, the user's dex on the 3rd round, stuff like that. Altering the spell's costs and effects. The spell cost is usually gauged in magic points and sanity points. However, some cases where an effect is long-lasting and or highly significant, it may also include a permanent expenditure of power. When altering the cost, you should consider any changes you intend to make to the effect. A more powerful effect is likely to increase the cost, while a lesser effect may lower it. Okay, great. The source from which a spell is learned can affect both the cost and the effect. The purer the source, the better the spell. There is no set ratio of spell cost to effect in this game. The poorer source, such as a badly translated incomplete tome, may provide a lesser version of a spell when a reduced effect and increased cost. A spell imparted directly from a great old one into the brain of the caster might have greatly increased effects and or greatly reduced costs. Purity of source. Less lost in translation. The worst is something that was translated 5 times, missing pages, smudged words. That's going to be a crappy spell. The best is an elder god or a great old one dumping the spell directly into your brain. Now, is that going to have other side effects? Yeah. But is it going to be a very pure spell? Oh, yeah. And this is an example of spell variations. I'm not getting into that. This talks example of how to create a zombie spell, an improved version of a zombie spell, and the deeper knowledge of the spell. The macabre version of the zombie spell. This is if you get a deeper knowledge, right? It gives examples that you can read it yourself. But creating a new spell is where I want to start on now.
Yeah.
Because this is something players might want to do. So we should find out what horrible things happen to them when they do. Call of Cthulhu is not a game that strives for game balance between the player characters and their enemies. No, that's not about balance. Nor is there a level-based structure in which spells must fit. If, for example, you create a spell that is similar to one of the Grimoire, but which costs far less for greater effect, you have not contravened any rules. You should be wary of introducing elements such as spells into your game that may have a major effect on gameplay. This is speaking to the keeper. This is not to say that you should not do so, just that you should not do so thoughtlessly.
Again, you're trying to kill the characters, and you're doing it by making it seem like it was their fault. So you give them all these spells.
You are not trying to kill the characters. You're trying to get them to kill themselves.
Right.
There it is. Look at the spells in this book and find one that approximates the magnitude of the effect of your new spell. This will provide a jumping off point as to the cost in magic, power, and sanity. Considered how easily a spell will be cast. A caster might have 16 magic points and be able to burn some hit points to increase its number, say to 25. Beyond this, the caster will either require a reservoir of magic points or additional participants in the casting to donate magic points to the spell. Some spells require power to be spent. Power can be accrued by wizards through certain spells or items, such as an enchanted cane, a necklace, a tablet, or just by casting spells, you can increase your power by exercising the attribute and then gaining. Sacrifices and other normally objectionable rites can be added to spells for 2 purposes. First, to invoke the theme of horror. Second, to make the spells either difficult or a moral dilemma for the players. For example, when the players want to use a spell that can thwart the opposition if it requires a human sacrifice. You can give them that option. Give the players the option. Hey, you could stop the cult right now. All you have to do is cut out Timmy's heart and use it as part of this spell, and it will stop all the cultists in their tracks or some other effect. You can do it right now. Somebody might say yes. Call, contact, and summon disambiguation. This is probably going to be important. These 3 types of spells have much in common, and it is useful to understand the differences. Call spells are immensely powerful rituals that bring an actual physical manifestation of a god before the caster. Call spells may be used by cults to bring forth their dark gods to accept ritual sacrifices or as an act of worship. The flip side of the call spell is the dismiss spell, used to send the god back from whence it came. Dismiss spells may well prove useful to the investigators. You do not want to call an elder god, but damn it, you may want to tell him to go home. Contact spells can be considered as a request for communication, somewhat like a phone call. When successfully used with mythos monsters, it will draw one or more to the caster. However, they come of their own volition and are not under the caster's control. When used with a deity or a great old one, the spell opens communication but does not necessarily bring forth a physical manifestation. This is how tomes are made. Casters connect themselves to the mind of a great old one or a deity and ask the deity for power, knowledge, or supremacy, or whatever. And the deity will dump, if they want to, spells directly into the brain of the communicated. And then they can use that knowledge to write a book about it. That can happen. Investigators might have cause to use a contact spell under certain circumstances. For example, to contact intelligent mythos races to get information or aid. However, to do so is perilous in the extreme. Do not open your brain to things that you don't understand, Timmy. That's how someone bleaches your insides.
But how am I supposed to understand it if I can't open my brain to it?
That's the conundrum and tightrope that we all walk, Timmy. Try not to fall. Summon spells compel a monster, not a god, to appear before the caster. Such monsters may be bound to the caster's will to do as their bidding. This summon and bind spells are used by wizards and cultists who wish to use the power of some otherworldly horror. Investigators might use a summon spell, but they had best ensure they can bind what they summon. And we're going to get an example of that in just a minute. Okay, a grimoire. This is a list of spells. These are some of the spells we're talking about. And I'm going to use see summoning spells, page 263. We're going to go straight to 263. Summoning spells. We're going to summon fire vampire. Yeah, that sounds right.
That doesn't sound good at all.
Summon a fire vampire. Causes one fire vampire to swoop down from the sky like a skittering star. A bonfire or other source of flame is required. The spell may be cast only at night when the star Fomalhaut is above the horizon. September through November are the best times in moderately northern latitudes. Alternative names: Conjure the Glittering Ones, the Autumnal Call of Living Fire, and all of these summon them, but I haven't found bind yet.
Well, on the other column.
Oh, separate binding right here. Cost 1 sanity point, casting time 1 round. What about the summoning? Summon is variable magic points and 1d4 sanity points. To summon,
I guess you don't lose a lot of sanity actually binding it, because that makes sense.
Yeah. Summoning it, you lose 1d4 sanity and magic points. Binding it, you lose more sanity. Not as much, but more sanity just by binding it, but you don't lose any magic points because you've already done the heavy lifting. Now it's just binding its will to yours. That means you have to get a little too close to the mind of an outer space thing, and that causes you to lose sanity. Words of power. 3+ magic points, depending on which word you're talking about, and 1d6 sanity points to cost for casting. And it takes 10+ minutes. But what do they do? The caster creates an intense bond with a large group of listeners. The caster must speak extemporaneously and seemingly from the heart, maintaining the audience's attention. For each 10 minutes of speech, the caster must expend 3 magic points and make a successful communication roll as the keeper thinks appropriate, either charm or persuade, whatever medium you're using to communicate. Or the speech ends indecisively and in confusion. At the end of the successful speech, the audience thoroughly believes what has been said for 1d3 days. So you, as a motivational speaker, would use this a lot. And you'd lose a lot of sanity points doing it, but by God, you're going to be very successful. Very successful motivational speaker. They'll want you to come back a lot. You're going to make a lot of money and go insane really fast.
That's okay, because that adds to the mystique in the story.
There you go. And here's a good one that for investigators. Warding. This could be fun. 1 magic point per stone. Apparently it's warding stones. No sanity. All right. Casting time, 5 rounds. A number of ordinary white stones are placed on the ground as the caster pleases, except that each must be within a yard of each of the others. When cast, a shimmering heat haze can be seen over the stones. Thereafter, if any stone is moved, the caster will be aware of that fact, even if asleep. Once this has occurred, the spell is broken. Okay. So this is more of an alarm system. You use 1 magic point per stone, as many stones as you want, and you place them in a place where people will normally walk. If someone touches or moves them in any way, you will know, which means putting it into a gravel driveway. Someone drives in the driveway, it's going to have a ripple effect of all the stones. Your stone's probably going to be moved. Boom, alarm goes off. Even if you're asleep, you'll know it. Wake you up.
Come on, that alternative name. Leave thy burden to the rock.
There you go. Or circle of protection. I'm sure that's for the Greek one or Latin one. Stones of safekeeping is probably Gaelic, maybe. I don't know. Separate binding. What's this one? Binding and summoning are 2 sides of the same coin. Now, sometimes they are learned as one spell, sometimes not. Okay, so if you learn a spell from a grimoire, it's very important to know whether you just have the summoning, just have the binding, or both. You don't want just the summoning and do it. That's stupid. Because you summon them to you, which means you're probably going to be the first one that this creature sees, and you have no control over it. Stupid. Very stupid. But if you just want to cause chaos, that'll do it. An uncontrolled monster from the stars running around tearing out everybody's heart. Yeah.
And while people focus on that thing, I can go do my thing.
There you go. If you get away. That's the thing. Song of Hastur. Costs 1d4 magic points per round and 1d4 sanity points per round. This must be awesome.
Better be a short song.
You better be. Casting time 3 rounds before it begins to take effect. Oh my God.
Okay, so it's 3d4. Do
you have to pay for it even before it takes effect? Let's find out. A hideous wailing undulation by the caster it says undulation. It should be undulation. I don't know. By the caster causes the skin and flesh of the chosen victim to bubble and fester into pestilent blobs. Wow. Target must be visible to the caster. Though everyone can hear the song, the spell affects only one person chosen as a target. The spell will not work except at night and only if the caster's star Aldebaran, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is visible. A roll equal to or under the caster's power must be made to sing the alien melody correctly. Successfully cast, the spell causes the target 1d6 hit points of damage per round the spell is active. After every 2 rounds, scarring reduces the victim's appearance by 3d10.
Jesus.
After 4 rounds, internal ruptures lower the victim's constitution by 3d10. When the victim's con reaches 0 or death occurs from loss of hit points, the body swells up and bursts with a sickening plop as steamy gore spills onto the floor. The song can be used defensively to guard against another caster of this spell. Successful opposing castings neutralize each other. Man, I think like a bullet would be a better deterrent for this spell.
Not nearly as cool, though.
Resurrection. This is the last spell. Resurrection. 3 magic points and 1d10 sanity. I think it should be more for resurrection, but we'll find out. The spell reduces a corpse to its essential salts and compounds, a bluish-gray powder, or reverses the process to yield ultimately the form and soul of the deceased. A complete corpse is necessary. Being resurrected in this manner costs the victim 1d20 sanity points. Apparently, it's very jarring. Very jarring.
I was dead.
Yeah, exactly. It's more like a Pet Cemetery type dead. Dead is better type thing. Yeah, could be something like that. If only part of the ashy powder is available for the spell, the sorcerer gets only the liveliest of awfulness from what the flesh is made. That's usually a ghoul or a zombie or something like that. But the successfully resurrected need not be all in one piece. As long as the coffin is intact and sufficient care is taken to scrape together all the fragments and dust, the spell succeeds. Reciting the spell backward returns the resurrected entity to dust and likewise requires the expenditure of 3 magic points and 1d10 sanity. Okay, well, you have the off switch for whoever you brought back. Reverse the incantation and boom, they die again. They turn back to salt. Awesome. The dust can be retained.
Was that a Star Trek episode? The Kelvinites.
They're the ones that steal salt from people? No.
Well, no. They turn people into little hexagonal sponges where they'd squeeze them, and that person was now dead.
I don't recall. For the spell to take effect, the caster must succeed in an opposed power roll with the target. If the caster wins, the victim returns to dust. If the victim wins, you may try to prevent the caster from reciting the spell again. Shut your hole. Reciting the spell backwards takes 2 rounds. In the case of Charles Dexter Ward, many of those resurrected were interrogated and tortured to reveal secrets of the past. Alternative names: the Rite of Knowledge Long Lost, Recrudence, and Rite of Salts. Yeah, so these are the spells, right? Many of them cost sanity every time they're used. Some of them cost sanity every round they're maintained. All of them are going to cost some type of magic point. And you are going to be at a great disadvantage to an NPC spellcaster because they're already just crap house rat crazy. So they no longer care. So there it is. That's magic spells, magic, and magic tomes. So what we did today, that's what we all learned this week. So let's take it home. Do we have any Nope. Okay, then throw up that subscribe. Do it. Do it now.
Like, subscribe, and share. And so next week, so how much longer do you have left with Call of Cthulhu?
At least 2 weeks.
Okay, so what's next week?
Next week is going to be artifacts and alien devices, monsters, and I think that's it because those are really long chapters.
Sounds good. Well, as if we didn't get enough with magic today, next week we get alien devices. That sounds lovely. I cannot wait to have a worm gun.
They're mostly innocuous looking, tablets or pendants or brooches, and then they slowly corrupt you and make you a willing servant of some other great old one or elder god. But whatever. Up until then, it's really cool.